Launched spring 2023, the Hyundai IONIQ 6. Now for me, there are two headlines to this car. One, the range, and we'll get into that in a bit, but it's fantastic. And two, the style. I think this is a beautiful car. So that beauty doesn't just run skin deep, as it sometimes can. I think the inside of this car is just as stylish. It's 47 grand and up, that's your baseline starting model. But if you go for the top of the range all-wheel drive, your 0 to 60 is 5.1 seconds. The changing of drive modes, if you like, like reverse, forwards, is here. And I'm finding that the steering wheel is getting in the way, so I can't see it very well. It's not going in my head. I normally find driving new cars really easy. This is not going in my head very easily. So I think this is a thing that you'd have to think, right, that's different, and it's going to take me a bit of time to get used to. Let's get this out of the way as well. We've known these cars as Hyundais. Well, I have. Now we're being encouraged to call them Hyundais. No, what is it, team? Hyundai. And then this morning we were even encouraged to call it a Hyundai. So you choose what you want to call it, I think is the best way to leave that. Hyundai seems to be the most popular right now. What it is, though, is really aerodynamic. And that's why it gets so much efficiency. Well, it's one of the reasons it gets so much efficiency. Here, this whole panel, when you're going at the right speed and when it needs to, actually flaps back to enable cooling to occur for the battery. So natural aerodynamic cooling to occur for the battery. Look at the whole shape. All of the design and the shape is around aerodynamic efficiency. You can see that right the way back to the back spoilers, and there are two of those. That also means we have a large amount of brake lighting. In fact, it's practically black pool illuminations. The branding is also everywhere. So even on this top spoiler, it's rather beautifully done. You'll see the pixels, and the pixels again down here on this lower brake light, even the pixels on the boot button. Talking of boot, I mean, it's a saloon car, so you haven't got all the space in the world to get things in, but it's a pretty big space inside. 401 litres, apparently 401. And I like this feature, look at this. Pull, and the seats come down. Pull, and the seats don't come down. Gives me an opportunity though to show you the handles. Again, aerodynamic all the way. Beautifully designed. There's the little branded pixel. You press in, you pull out. Now, the only thing I'm finding is it's taken me a minute to get used to doing that with one hand. Press in one side, pull out the other side. So, it's all right. Oh, pull that seat down. It's easier because it's released and you just have to pull it down. But, not bad. Has got a boot button, and you know how I love a boot button. Okay, it just worked. There's charging flap. It has got a fruit. That's because this is the rear wheel drive model. If you go all wheel drive model, the fruit barely exists. So I promise you we talk about range, and that is one of the major bonuses to this lovely car. They're claiming 338 miles top range, which is phenomenal. Even if you bring that down to a real world average, you're still getting a great range. And it's 350 kilowatt charging. Do you know what that means? That means you could charge 217 miles. You could get 217 miles into this baby in 10 minutes. That, my friend, is not quite long enough to drink your latte. Now that speed of charge relies on you finding an ultra rapid charger, super fast. And there are only 3,700 of those in the UK at the moment. But this car is future proof, and those ultra rapid chargers are on the increase all the time. So, inside, it's good. I like it. There's a huge amount of storage space. Look down here. It's not a glove compartment, it's a glove drawer. Isn't that beautifully thought through? And obviously the usual drinks, storage in here, storage down here. That Pixel branding is still everywhere you go. And I think I just really like the textures in this car. There's ridges on the doors. It feels like a bit of a cockpit to be in. It feels very clean. They've taken all of the switches away from the door. And there's pros and cons. You know, the mirror adjustments, for example, are just down here under the whole steering column thing. And I have to peer around to have a look at that, which I'm not a huge fan of. You know, it'll take me a minute to get used to the fact that the controls for the windows and all of those lock controls are here instead of where you would expect them to be on your door. But it does make for a cleaner vehicle, and I really like the look of it. Some people at some adjustments are struggling to see the screen because the steering wheel gets in the way. I just happen to be the right size that for me that's not an issue. So what is on our two lovely 12-inch screens? There's a lot of information displayed on this middle one. This one is all the features that you've kind of come to expect from an electric vehicle, your settings, your navigation, that kind of stuff, but with some nice extras. Blue Link, for example, with vehicle diagnostics, which is really unusual. Come back to the main screen and you'll see Hyundai Live, and that will give us information on charging stations near us, not just where they are or how to get there, but also, for example, if I press on this one, it will tell me whether it's available or not, which is super useful. So that's live as we go on our journey. And then the other feature that we quite like is in media. We can get sounds of nature, or you can be in an open air cafe, you can have a warm fireplace sound, or because we're by the sea, obviously we can stay in the car nice and warm with a flask if we desire, and we can still hear the ocean waves. So the steering wheel is lovely, really nice shape, really nice feel to it, really nice size. I always think that contributes a huge amount to your driving experience. It is, interestingly, eco leather. I'm not quite sure of the qualification for eco there, where the rest of the interior is made of cloth and recycled materials. So there is a nod towards sustainability here, which is important, but they haven't gone the whole hog with vegan leather, which is really interesting. The back is lovely. The only disadvantage of the back is it suffers from that beautiful sloping shape of the car, and so your headroom, I mean, look, it's not bad by any means, you're not squashed, but if you're tall, maybe over 6 foot, you may need a little bit of you may get a bit of a head rub there. But there's tons of room feet-wise, because that's the benefit of having the really flat floor. There's heated seats, a huge luxury in the back. There's the USB mirrors, great, nicely positioned, and of course you've got your, which was just showing then, don't pull out, you've got your blind spot warning. You can go digital. Well, you know, I probably, if you've watched any of these reviews, I am really not a fan of those digital mirrors at all. And so I'll save myself £1,000, which is how much it costs to upgrade them. This little display here would be, instead of just the 4 dots, which I have, it would be a 4 light display. Back to that pixel design here that they're so fond of. And those lights would light up and down, and the 4 dots apparently represent H in Morse code. You know, it's all thought through. For such a sophisticated car, the one thing that surprises me is that you have to plug your phone in. It's not a remote connection with your phone for Apple CarPlay, for example. That's really interesting. But then, you know, hey, the one thing that we have got is 64 ambient light settings inside. No, I don't want 64 ambient light settings inside. I want to be able to connect my phone without having to plug it in every 5 minutes. You know, those things are a little bit off. Who's ever going to use 64? Tina, are you ever going to use 64 light settings? And you've got 3 girls. Will your 3 girls even care that much to use 64 ambient light settings? No. And one more thing that is just worth mentioning before we go. It's the Charge My Hyundai app. And that you get when you buy the car. And it allows you access to reduced tariff charging from all the major suppliers. So that is really worth knowing about. Now, by my reckoning, we've got about half an hour left, Tina, before we have to take this beautiful car back to lovely Hendy. And thank you very much, Hendy, for lending us the car so that we could review it. But it is hard work reviewing cars, right? On beautiful days by the seaside. So what do you reckon? Strawberry? Ice cream? Bit of rum and raisin? You like a little bit of rum and raisin, don't you, Tina?